In the days before, the gods gave us the spark of ambition, which lit the fires of creation. They gave us a world of our own, a home. They made us builders, warriors, legends. They gave us everything. But our hubris overcame us. We thought ourselves to be gods instead. We tore apart their memory, and so we were punished. Everyone, everything cast into the fire. Yet some of us were spared to start again.
Hey guys, welcome to Have a Chill. Today we're bringing you my failed attempt at surviving 100 days in Aska. If that intro didn't get you hyped up, I don't know what to say. That was absolutely awesome, and as you can see, this absolutely massive monster behind me just makes his way back into the ocean. Yeah, this intro had me hyped up for this game, I am not gonna lie to you. As you can see, the game looks absolutely beautiful. Absolutely stunning, and yeah, we're gonna get right into the gameplay here. So first off, I pick up these little blue orbs I noticed laying right by our shipwreck. They're called Jotunblood or Jotunblood. So I grab those. They're gonna become very important later. I'm just kind of taking it all in at this point. Just the vibrant colors and the gorgeous ocean and shipwreck, and obviously that intro was just awesome. So yeah, really enjoying it so far. And I kind of do some exploring. I'm looking for things I can pick up and scavenge, as I am pretty familiar with these survival games, and yeah, I know that's exactly what I need to do. So, as I'm running around looking for some resources, this little blue wisp, I believe it's called, pops up, and it tells me that I can press Z, and basically that is the Witcher senses in this game. So, give it a shot here, press Z, and you can see this orange kind of wave around me moves forward, exposing anything that's lootable or harvestable in the area. That was a bad example, as there wasn't really too much around, but you'll see those bushes flashed orange, the rocks are flashing orange. It helps me find this small stone on the ground, and yeah, so I keep harvesting away, and that's my main focus for right now. Just doing that little roll actually got me an achievement there, which is pretty funny, but yeah. And then find some berries. Berries are absolutely awesome in this game. Not only do they replenish your hunger, but they also replenish your thirst. And both of those are very hard to manage in this game. It is one of the reasons why this video is titled I failed to survive 100 days in Aska. Not that I succeeded, so yeah, there is that. Then notice this stone looking thing on the ground, and it's actually a natural water collector. So I was able to grab that and make sure my thirst was all the way full again. At this point, another one of those tutorial wisps pops up, so I go over there and check it out. It tells me that at this point I need to open up my build menu and place down a simple fire, so that's going to be my next goal. Of course, that means I do want to find a place to settle down, so I'm going to open up my map and kind of have a look around and see where I want to put my base. Now, I have seen that there is fishing and boats in this game, so I definitely knew I wanted to put it in the water, or put my base near the water, I should say. So I do kind of stay around the coast, just running around looking for a nice area that's relatively flat and open, so I can, so I can get a tribe going. Now, on my search for a base, I did run across, I believe these are also called wisps, which is a little bit confusing, as that's what the tutorial things are called, but I did find a couple of the non-tutorial type wisps, and they were attacking me, so yeah, I was able to take them out with just my fists. In this game, what you do is left click is a normal attack, right click is a heavy attack, and if you have a shield, you can press Q to block. Shift is going to be your dodge roll. I didn't really use a shield at all in this playthrough. That's probably one of the reasons again why I failed, but we'll get to that when the time comes. So yeah, just end up taking these guys out, and they drop some fiber, which becomes a very important resource, and they also sometimes drop sticks, which are very useful as well. Alright, so next up I do find a place that looks like a pretty good spot to settle down and build a tribe. So I do place down that simple fire. This is one of those games where you can place down the building first and then add the materials after. So that's what I do here. It turns out I still do need another stick. Unfortunately, I'm not able to chop down any trees yet, so off I go looking for a stick. At that point, another wisp pops up. It still just tells me to build a simple fire, so it's the same as the last one. But yeah, just looking around for another stick. They are kind of hard to find in this game. You have to look for these dwarf spruces, and that's what's going to give you sticks, or you can kill those wisps, like I mentioned earlier. But anyway, I find that stick, I come back, I place it in there, and the simple fire is built. So, I end up igniting the fire, and at this point another tutorial wisp comes by, and it gives me my next goal. The next goal is you gotta press T on the simple fire. What that does is it opens up a building menu, and from there you can do upgrades or add-ons. In this case it wants me to upgrade from a simple fire to a campfire. So I go over here, press T, gives you another tutorial screen. If you want to have a read over that, feel free to pause, and then yeah, I place down the campfire, and you can press Q to pin the recipe in the top left corner. So as you can see, I need 4 more sticks to get this campfire going. So here I go, finding some sticks again. Grab some berries while I'm at it, and then I'm going to head back and finish that campfire. Right, so I get back to the fire and I do mess up. I accidentally add one of the sticks as fuel. So now I only have 3 out of the 4 sticks needed to finish it, so that was a bit frustrating, but not a big deal. End up finding a few more dwarf spruces, so yeah, getting those couple extra sticks wasn't the end of the world. Got some berries while I was at it yet again as well. Finally get back to the campfire with the sticks required, and yep, there you go, it's fully upgraded to that campfire now. And at this point I come across some more wisps. Yeah, try and take them out with my fist, increase my melee combat level, and as you can see, another tutorial wisp drops in the background. So as I finish taking out these wisps and collecting all their materials, we have the next part of the tutorial to look forward to right after. Still getting used to the combat. I'd obviously like to dodge some of those hits, but yeah, just the first day here, so what can you do? The nice thing about this game is it does have the days survived right below the mini-map, so you guys can always tell what day I'm on there. I believe I get up to 22 or 23 before I end up failing in this one, so yeah. So the wisp asked me to craft some ropes and blades. I did that, and then I open up my inventory, and as you can see, it's divided up into 3 sections in this game. You have your small items at the top, medium items below, and then you have room for 1 large item. The large items are actually something you carry. On the right hand side you can see your status. I have my base stats up top, and this game does have proficiencies, so if you like leveling up and see numbers go up, this is an awesome game for you. But yep, so continue just trying to gather some resources. I make my way over to the beach, and you're going to notice I find some mussels. Make sure to collect those, and then as I'm doing that, yet another one of the tutorial wisps pops up with my next mission, which is to place down a shelter. Using the ropes and blades I crafted earlier, I was able to make myself a stone axe. So now I am able to chop down the young trees. They are kind of still hard to find. There's a lot of the mature trees. The young trees aren't quite as common, so still would like to get a better axe to make my life a little bit easier, but this will work for now. So yeah, you chop up the tree, and then once it falls over, you got to break it down even further. At this point, there's going to be a couple different items, including resin, sticks, bark, and then what are called long sticks, which are those obviously long sticks, and they're considered a large item. So with the large items, what you do is you actually like put them over your shoulder or carry them in front of you, depending on what large item it is. And yeah, you can only carry one at a time, and it does make it so you can't run or move around as easy. But yeah, it's kind of cool. So next up, what I do is I open my build menu, go to where the shelter is, and decide where I want to put it. End up putting it down facing the fire, thinking maybe it'll help me keep warm and maybe keep some mobs away as well. Took me a little bit to get used to the placing in this game, but there you have it. Put it down, and now next up you'll see these 4 tiles that are highlighted green on the ground. You actually have to flatten the land before you can build. For that I need a wooden hoe, which I don't have the materials to build just yet, so I go out and gather some more materials at this point. It's actually just as easy as crafting materials. I did have the base materials needed, just needed to craft some more. So then I build the wooden hoe. Another achievement for that, and then I work on flattening the land so I can get that shelter going. The way this game handles terrain flattening is pretty cool. It's definitely a lot easier than some other games like Valheim, so yeah, a bit of a bonus in my books there. But it did require 2 of these long sticks, so I have to go back and get another one. And once you have all the materials for a stage, the blueprint turns green. At this point, what you need to do is you need to grab yourself a hammer, and you need to start hammering the structure together. So I quickly make myself a hammer, get another achievement, do a little bit of sorting for my hotbar. This game makes it very easy to do so. And then you just hold down E and your guy's going to start hammering away at it. It does use quite a bit of stamina, but that's no problem. And there you go. Now you're on to the second stage of building, which again is going to require you to get some more resources, so that's what I focus on doing next. Chopping down a couple more trees. And just like that, I have all the resources needed. So on to the next stage of hammering away at the building. Now it's a good thing that this game does have tribespeople that you can put to work for you, because if not, the building would definitely get quite tedious. There's a third stage, but eventually I am able to get the materials, and my guy, he immediately just goes to sleep in here. I must have accidentally pressed E at the same time as completing it, and what that actually did is made some sort of glitch appear where my guy was just kind of floating in the air as he was sleeping. Either that or maybe he's just Thor, one of the Viking gods himself. So yeah. That's actually the end of day 1, so first day down, and so far I'm really loving this game. It's absolutely fantastic. So starting off day number 2, I get back to work chopping down some trees. And I notice my thirst meter going down, so I figure it's probably a good idea to build a rain collector. So put the rain collector right down this birch tree. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to chop down the birch tree, so yeah, I think this entire episode actually it's going to stay a main feature of my base, that birch tree. Yeah, so flatten down the ground so I can build that rain collector, and then work on building that. At this point, another wisp shows up, one of the tutorial wisps, so I open that up and it wants me to craft an Eye of Odin. What the Eye of Odin does is it allows you to convert Jotun blood into tribespeople for your base. So obviously quite important, and we want to get one of those down as soon as possible, so that becomes my next main focus. So again, needing some more resources, I do go and chop down another tree. And as I'm doing so, I hear some footsteps, and I actually run into one of these zombie-looking guys. This is awesome. I do want to practice my melee skill and keep working on leveling that up, so I am able to take out this guy. Now unfortunately you do need a knife to harvest these guys. I do not have a knife at this point in the game, but it is nice to kind of practice my combat a little bit, so I do go and take out another 2 of them. As I'm doing so, another tutorial wisp pops up, but unfortunately it's just the same one before. It just wants me to build that Eye of Odin, so nothing interesting there. But yeah, take this last guy out using the right heavy attack to knock him down, and then finishing him with a basic attack. Get back to base. I do have enough materials to finish the rainwater collector, so I get that done. And next up I work on placing down the Eye of Odin. So it does need large stones. That's a material I've yet to find yet, so I'm gonna have to figure out how to collect some of those, but first let's find a spot I like for the Eye of Odin. Decided to kind of go put it up on the hill a little bit over this direction, just to give it some space. I wasn't sure how much room it was gonna need for these villagers to spawn in and that sort of thing. So rotate it around and end up deciding to put it right here. You do need to flatten the land, which is nice and easy as it's only 1 tile. And then I put in what resources I do have. I pin the recipe in my top left corner there, but yeah, I need to go collect some more stuff. Starting off with a tree. As I'm looking for resources, I do notice some fish just off in the distance, right by the beach by my base, so hopefully that comes in use later on. But I get back to the Eye of Odin. I have the first round of materials all in there, so I can work on hammering it together. The only problem is, for the second phase of building, I do need to find those large stones, so that's my next mission here. So in an attempt to get some large stone, I craft myself up a stone pickaxe, and then I find this rock with a blue kind of crystal glowing thing in the middle, smash up that rock. It ends up working out quite well, as the rock does drop. Not only does it drop large stones and small stones, but it also gets me some Jotun blood, which is going to be very useful for spawning in tribes members. The only thing is that these things have a lot of HP, so it takes forever to dwindle them down. But ended up finding some large stones. Bring the first one back there, and then we go grab the second one. And back to the Eye of Odin we go, plop it down, and now we're able to finish the Eye of Odin. So naturally the next step is to work on spawning in our first tribes members, so that's exactly what I do. You have to put in 5 of the Jotun bloods, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. In this game you just have to right click to quick move your inventory. And then yeah, it gives you 2 options, each with some different perks. So this first lady, she has Snow Strider, as well as Sunrise Vigilant. And then Gerd over on the right here, she is either, well, she has both the traits of a Wind Rider, as well as a Resilient Surge. I end up going with Majvi, and now you're going to see a timer on the right hand side that's counting down from 10 minutes. That's how long it takes before the tribesperson is going to spawn in. So as we wait for our first villager, we do snack on some berries, getting our health and our thirst back up. And yeah, we just kind of chill by the campfire, which did unfortunately burn out, so I add some fuel and get that problem rectified as well. In anticipation of Majvi joining our tremendous tribe, I do decide it's probably best to put down a shelter for her. So I do put her down as my next door neighbor. And then I work on getting that shelter completed. And I did hear another wisp, so I go check it out. And it's still just telling me that I need to make a villager. So we already have that in progress. Get back to the shelter, finish that up. We're now down to only 5 minutes until our villager joins us, which is awesome. Super excited for that. In the meantime, I figure why not keep building shelters, because we are going to need as many as we can for all the villagers that are hopefully going to be joining our tribe. And as I'm waiting for Majvi to join our tribe, day 2 does come to an end. So first 2 days out of the way, we are on to day 3. Start off day 3 by collecting some long sticks. And as I'm doing so, you'll see Majvi had spawned in over there. She's running back to our base. First thing she does is go and get some water, as our rainwater collector we built earlier is working well. But yeah, pretty excited. We're not alone anymore, so that's absolutely awesome. And right away she gets to work. She does not waste any time. I really like this villager already. That's exactly the type of stuff I love to see. Alright, so another wisp pops up. This time it basically tells me that I am now on my own, and it's not going to help me anymore. So, a little bit disappointing there. I can't believe it would just desert me like that. A little bit unfortunate, but that's okay. I have faith that we are going to be able to do it. Except I do end up failing, so that's unfortunately not true. The game does have a pretty extensive tutorial, as you just saw there, so if I do need to see anything, go back and refresh my memory. It's all right there, so pretty easy. Next up, I realize Majvi does need a home, so I open up my housing menu and I assign Majvi to that first home right there, so now she has a shelter. I do decide I want to get another villager ASAP, so I go and mine some more Jotun blood shards so I can get more Jotun blood and start spawning some more villagers. And then I also do experiment with the terrain flattening tool. So basically there's 2 arrows that point whichever way you want the terrain to be flattened, and then wherever that first stick that is put down is placed, that's the terrain it's going to flatten the rest to. So it's basically like the guide, and then all the terrain will become equal with wherever you place that first corner down. And then yeah, get back to harvesting the Jotun blood shards. as obviously crucial in order to get as many villagers as possible. And now that I do have enough Jotun blood, I transfer it over into the Eye of Odin. As you can see, I can either get Hendrik, who has strength for being a lumberjack, which could be useful. Bodil is archer as well as a stonebreaker, but I end up choosing Hendrik as I do plan on building a wood collector next. And I do go grab some more Jotun blood, as it's going to be a very important resource in this game. You can never really have too much. I end up getting back to base and notice a wisp is attacking Majvi, so I definitely go help her out. Take the wisp out. Yeah, not fun when you're getting attacked while you're sleeping, that's for sure. Majvi wasn't very happy about it either. She actually got a mood debuff for being interrupted in her sleep. But what can you do? On day 4, I wake up to the absolutely gorgeous sight of Hendrik spawning out of midair. Look how gorgeous he is. And right away he gets to work. Absolute legend. Can't believe we're so lucky with both Majvi and Hendrik on our crew now. I did map out some more areas to flatten out. Next up, I do want to build a wood collecting hut, as well as a resource gathering hut, and then a stone cutter's hut. But in order to place all those down, I did want a bit of a flat area to work with, and I wanted to ensure I had some sort of idea for the layout of my camp. So yeah, the next little while, the 3 of us work on just flattening out some land, so that's what you're seeing right here. You can also use your hoe to take out the grass, which is kind of cool. It's nice for building paths or making kind of an area where you just have some nice dirt to work with. So after a couple minutes of hard work, you'll see our camp area looks really good. And everything's starting to become super flat, and we're starting to have some room to work with here. So first up, I do build the Gatherer's Pit. What this does is it's a place for your tribe's people to go and collect berries and other resources. There's cabbage, carrots, onions. They can also get you flax, which will give you fiber, which is a really important resource in this game. But yeah, they get to work constructing on that. I go back to the Eye of Odin. I do have enough Jotun blood to summon in another tribes person. This time it's between Hjalmar and Dyke. I end up looking over their stats, so we have Bear Power and Hydration Expert. Both those sound really good. And then we have a Battle Scarred Veteran, as well as Hydration Expert again. So both of these guys, no real wrong choice. I do end up going with Deke just because of the Battle Scarred Veteran. I figured in case I do get attacked, it would be good to have a veteran among our ranks. Next up, I do decide to go and chop down some more trees, harvest some more resources, so that's what you see me doing here. Bring that stuff back to camp, that way they can continue their construction. And right now I have both of them set to construction because there's not really much else for them to do. One of the only ways to restore health in this game is by sleeping, except it's extraordinarily slow, as you'll see. And then my sleep gets interrupted because we have our first Blood Moon. So what Blood Moon is it's basically a raid on your base. Yeah, I wasn't sure if I was quite prepared for this yet, but luckily the first one was pretty easy and we were able to deal with it. It wasn't really a problem at all. As you can see, the same kind of like zombie type guys from the beach we had taken out earlier, those are the guys who are raiding our base, so go up to them and do some heavy attacks and work on taking them out. And after successfully dealing with the Blood Moon, I decided to celebrate by eating some mushrooms. Unfortunately, this did make me hallucinate, and yeah, wasn't exactly the best thing. It made things hard to see, and I guess it's not the best for your mental health either, so my character definitely had a bit of a debuff from eating those mushrooms, so definitely want to make sure you cook those before you eat them. I learned that lesson the hard way. And at this point I do go collect some more Jotun blood. I wanted to keep the villagers flowing in. This is also the point in the game I realized that resources did not seem to respawn by my base, which was getting a little bit frustrating. It just meant I had to go further and further out. I get back to the base just in time to watch Deek's magnificent self spawn in right in front of my very own eyes. And I want to get a new villager on the way ASAP, so that's exactly what I do. Now we get a pick between Svend and Gunhild. You can look at their traits again. Now it does only give you 2 of the 5 traits that each tribesperson has, so you don't get to see the whole experience, I guess you could say, but it does give you a little bit of a teaser, and based on those you can choose. Typically I just tried to avoid any debuffs, things like tribes people that needed to eat more or drink more or anything like that. I did try and avoid. As you can see, it looks like we are almost finished up with that gatherer's hut, and we do end up completing it. Thanks to the hard work of my tribes people, I really didn't do anything at all. Yeah, and then I go ahead and see that Hendrik does have some proficiency in gathering, so I assign Hendrik to the gatherer's hut, and I hope he can go out and bring me back all sorts of berries and food and fibers and all that sort of good stuff. And we have officially survived 4 days. So next up I decide it's best to keep the momentum going. I do have a couple berries, and then I decide to place down a woodcutter's pit. Wood resources did seem to be my main bottleneck at this point, so this was going to be just what the doctor ordered. Find a place I'm satisfied with placing it down. Decide to push it back as far as possible, as the game does make you flatten out the terrain when you build anyways, so easy peasy. And yeah, we get to work on building that woodcutter's pit. And in this game, the hunt for Jotunblood never really does end, so as you can see, I do go collecting some more of that. I do run into this oversized bunny that kind of has like a goat face. It's a really weird looking creature if you see the front angle, but yeah, I just kept running away. I couldn't catch up to it. I kept running out of stamina, so eventually I just let it be. We did get our latest tribesperson in, so it was time to activate another one. We have Burger, who was a winter huntsman, and Burger's other trait was Rain Dancer, so she did enjoy being in the rain. Over on this side we have Gertrude, which is actually the name of one of my tribespeople from my Soul Mask 100 Days video, which is actually hilarious. But despite that, I do have to be a little bit disloyal to Gertrude, and I do end up going with Burger because I was craving a McDonald's McDouble at that point. My woodcutter's hut did finish, so at this point I have to decide who I want to put on that. None of my tribespeople at this point are proficient in woodcutting. That being said, they do develop skills as they're working on something. You can see Hendrik is already at 14 gathering now, which is pretty impressive. But yeah, so I end up just going with Majvi as my first wood collector, which is awesome. Now we have a source of automated wood materials, so definitely quite nice there. I do decide to plop down another shelter as my tribe is growing at a pretty exponential pace. Not sure what I was doing here. It took me a second to rotate it around for some reason. Must have been distracted. And there we go. Looks good, so I plop it down right there. And the only one of the main 3 resource collecting stations I didn't have down yet was a stonecutter's station. So I do place down the stonecutter's hut next to the woodcutter's hut, and have my villagers work on constructing that as well. At this point I press tab and I notice that it's saying some of my villagers still need a home, my structures are defenseless. I need to put down a food gathering marker because my food gatherers have already looted everything within the vicinity. So basically what the markers do is they're a place, you put down a marker and then, you know, a certain zone around that marker, your workers are going to go and harvest resources from that zone. And like I said earlier, it doesn't seem to me like the resources do respawn, so they do deplete, so you have to make sure you're always expanding your area. So that way you never run out of resources. And then after that I do decide I'm going to place down some more shelters. Like it said, I did have a homeless person, so last thing I want is to have my community be homeless. Wouldn't be a very good tribes leader if that was the case. So, and then I go to my campfire and I decide I'm going to put down a barbecue. What this does is it allows me to cook meat and vegetables and that sort of stuff. And then I decide to go back out exploring some more. As you can see, all the grass kind of just grew around me there. It's kind of interesting. And I placed down a woodcutter's marker around a bunch of trees so that my woodcutter has a place to go and chop down trees. I did need some extra resources in order to complete the marker, so I grabbed those resources and then I get to work hammering away, one nail at a time. Did run out of stamina, which was a little bit unfortunate, but was able to finish it off in no time. And boom, just like that, we have a woodcutting marker, and now on the map you can see there's that zone I was mentioning before, so now I do have a second place to gather trees in case my first one runs out. And because I did have a problem with my food gatherers, I did put down a food gatherer's marker over here as well. Hopefully this alleviates the issue that I was getting before. And we have now survived 5 days on to day 6. Start day 6 off by bringing some long sticks back to camp. At this point I noticed all of my tribespeople were just kind of standing and staring at me. Not exactly sure what that was about, but it seemed like I was the one doing all the work. Not really a fan. As the leader, I was hoping I would be able to sit back and watch them do all the work. But unfortunately that was not the case. The stonecutter's pit did end up finishing up, so I found a worker there, went and collected some water. Actually, I didn't collect water, I realized it was out, so it might be time to start thinking of putting a well down soon. Come back out to where my other markers were, and I add a stonecutter's marker to that. And right after I called my workers lazy, one of them did run all the way out to where the markers were and finish constructing that stonecutter's marker for me, so apologies. You clearly got the message. And then I placed down another shelter. Eventually. And then next up I decide to place down a worker's pit. The only problem with this is that it was very large, or at least it was very large once you added all the expansions and add-ons to it. So I kind of fooled around with it for a little bit here, trying to find a place I liked it, but I couldn't, so I'm going to have to expand my area and flatten out some more land when I get back. But in the meantime I go out and I do take down some wisps and collect the fiber and the sticks from them. I was really having a hard time maintaining enough fiber at this point. Fiber is used to make rope in pretty much every recipe, whether it be tools or buildings or anything like that. It did require rope. So yeah, I get back to base, I work on flattening out some area. That's what you're seeing here. Everything's coming along quite well. Expand this way a little bit too. Nice thing is your builders will jump on this and start flattening for you. You don't actually have to do it yourself. And then yeah, I want to keep the villagers flowing in, so I go and collect some more Jotun blood. As I was trying to collect the Jotun blood, a wolf did kind of sneak up on me, but luckily he left me alone. Get back to the Eye of Odin, and I do add 5 Jotun blood in there. Now I get to choose between Alice and Helga. Alice was a shrimpy woodsman, which means she was good at wood cutting, but she eats more than usual. She was also nocturnal. Helga had an iron stomach, meaning they ate less than normal, but hated the rain. I went with Helga because I was struggling to keep enough food around, and she ate less than normal, which was nice, and I didn't find it rain too often in this game, so that'll do it for day 6. And of course, right as day 6 ends, we do have a pack of hungry smokers. I don't really know what this was, I didn't really notice any of them. I believe from doing a little bit of research online, the smokers are those like rabbit, goat, huge looking things I was mentioning earlier. And I think they do come and try and eat your food from under you, but I didn't notice them at all. Alright, so after a little bit more of an area had been flattened at my camp, I do put down the workers' pit. Trying to decide where exactly I wanted, I end up settling right about here. The rotation in this game is a little bit weird, it's hard to get it exactly where it feels right, but yeah, plop that down. Now I go look at my forager's hut. As you can see, it was doing a good job collecting seeds and fiber and that sort of stuff, but I was just getting no food. There was no berries, no cabbages, no onions, no carrots, no garlic, nothing like that. So I decided that maybe I need to expand my zones, and I do place down some more markers. I do one for each of wood cutting, stone cutting, and food gathering. And then just like that, they're all built up and finished. Here's where they are on the map, just to show you kind of relative to where the other markers are and to where my base is, and the kind of coverage I'm getting now. So yeah, hopefully that makes a big difference and I am able to get some more food. Make my way back to base, and as you can see, I have built some more shelters. I do decide to sleep to try and recover some of my health. And then the next morning, the workers' pit was all finished. I decide to put Gunhild on the workers' pit, as she does have some proficiency in it. And then once you open up the menu, the way it works is you add a task. Get rid of the tutorial screen there, but yeah, you add a task, and basically what I do is I have Gunhild craft about 50 ropes and 50 blades, as those are going to be used in pretty much every tool, and then I had her make essentially one of every tool. And the way it works is it does loop, so it'll start at the top and then kind of loop all the way to the bottom and keep going, and based on what materials are available, she will focus on the items she can build first. But yeah, by the time I'm done, this is all of the tasks I had set for her. So yeah, hopefully now we can automate production of all of our tools and never have to worry about that again. I also have her making me a bow and a better club for some better combat as well, so yep. So at this point I decide to upgrade the stonecutter's hut as well, or sorry, the stonecutter's pit, the woodcutter's pit, and the gatherer's pit to the woodcutter's hut, the stonecutter's hut, and the gatherer's hut. That is basically just the tier 2 equivalent. And as I'm doing that, unfortunately, I do get the notification that another blood moon is starting. So definitely have to be on the lookout tonight. And right away we do get some skeletons invading us. I'm hoping my tribes people are going to help out, but the skeletons go right for the workshop pit. I had just finished creating it as well. And they try and take it out. So I try and draw one skeleton at least away, do some dodging, do a little bit of fighting, and it looks like all my workers are coming to help, but none of them do absolutely anything. They all just go inside and run away like cowards. Finally, we do get a little bit of help from them, and once that does happen, we're able to take out the skeletons super quickly. And that was it for day 7, so now on to day 8. The blood moon goes away. And yeah, I just work on gathering some berries and doing a little bit of resource collection, and of course we always need that Jotun blood, so I'll grab some of that while I'm out here as well. And I'd just like to take a second, guys, to ask you to subscribe and leave a like as well as a comment. It does mean the world to me. This is only my second video, so you know, the more support I can get, the better. Really do appreciate it. The first Soul Mask video did really well, so thank you guys so much. Anyways, I do work on getting my next tribes person. I have Njord, who has mighty vigor, as well as he's nocturnal, so he prefers being awake at night. And on the other side we have Frey, who's a monk body. He eats less, but he also has lower health, as well as a snow strider. I end up going with Njord. And then I do decide it is time to place down a warehouse, which is essentially a storage building. Just try and find a spot I like where it looks, and end up going right about here. There we go. And next up I realized I was able to create some sleds, so I plopped a couple of those down. Basically what they do is they help you gather resources when you're out and about and carry them back, so you have a way to expand your inventory. Yeah, I was also hoping that my villagers would use them when they went out to collect trees and stones and that sort of thing. I couldn't figure out how to make that happen. I'm not sure if it's possible, but nonetheless, the sleds did come in use. I was able to personally use them on a few different missions later on in the video, so all good there. And food was starting to become a bit of a bottleneck, so what I did is I built a barbecue over my campfire, and I assigned one of my villagers to be a cook. So I did end up going and adding a task to create each of every possible recipe that was in the barbecue. So that's what it looks like when it's all said and done. So yeah, hopefully that helps with my food situation a little bit. I did have quite a few mushrooms that needed to be cooked, so that's what I did next. And then we did go back to the Eye of Odin so we could spawn yet another tribes person. First we had Otis, who was good at mining as well as had some cold resistance. We end up choosing Otis. And along with food, the other main bottleneck I was having was rope. So I went out and I just manually collected a bunch of flask. You're just seeing a small sample of it here. It was a lot, but definitely worth it. As pretty much everything I was doing needed rope, and I just never seemed to have enough. Alright, and then all of my villagers decide they are going to wake up at the exact same time, which is pretty funny. Just watching them all just wake up at the same time. Pretty impressive, honestly. It's like almost like a military drill. So hopefully that's a good sign for the next blood moon that comes our way. And next up I decide I want to kind of make a ramp up and make a second level to our base. Yeah, the terraforming in this game, it's a little bit interesting when you're not using that flattening tool and you're just using the wooden hoe. But I was able to craft out a path that my villagers all used and worked well. So I just kind of sped up times 8 the footage of that, and you'll see kind of how it all turns out. But yeah. Also end up putting down another house. There was another smoker run coming at us, but they didn't really seem to do much yet again. I then worked on flattening out the area at the top of that path I had made, just as a nice little place where I can add, hopefully eventually I'm going to add a barracks up there. I go check out the crafting pit, and yeah, I am lucky enough that my worker has made me a bow as well as a fishing rod and some arrows and an extra hammer and a torch and a bunch of other useful stuff. So I grab whatever I want from there. And naturally, now that I have a bow, I obviously want to test it out. So that's what I end up doing next. My aim definitely needed a little bit of work. The arrows definitely did not seem to fly super far, but you know what? It worked out pretty good. I was able to take out a bunch of these zombie type dudes and build some bow proficiency as well. At this point, my craftsperson had crafted a large stone axe, which was another tier up from the axe I was currently using. This meant that I was able to take down these big trees and get logs now. So yeah, definitely a nice little step up there, because a lot of the stuff I'm going to be needing to get now uses logs. So I tip over the tree and then harvest it, and as you can see, there are the logs that you get from these bigger trees. My woodcutter's hut, gatherer's hut, and stonecutter's hut upgrades did need logs, so that was definitely a very important little step up there. So yeah, now we're going to work on upgrading those. Decide to help my tribesmen out a little bit and take down another couple trees and haul some more logs back to base. And I figured I'd give you guys an update on my proficiencies as well. As you can see, gatherings at 19, stone harvest at 15, wood harvest at 9, and so on and so forth. My base stats are relatively the same as they were when I started. Those are going to change more so based on if you're completely full and you're completely hydrated and that sort of stuff. I don't believe they level up as you progress. I do end up putting down some more markers as, you know, I added a woodcutter's marker and a stonecutter's marker every time I did one of these just to prevent the need arising of me to expand them, but the driving force behind why I was putting these markers down was food. It was always the food that was running out, so yeah, put down those guys and hopefully that's going to help with that food production. Next up I get back to base and I decide, you know, what I want to do next. I end up deciding that I should probably build a hunter's hut. Let's get some meat going up in this base. We haven't had any meat yet. It's been a vegetarian camp up until now. You know, as much as I do love vegetarian food, I don't think my Viking friends are very appreciative of it. So let's get them some meat, let's make them happy, and then we'll build that hunter's hut. I decided I also wanted to put down a fisherman's hut. The only problem is I did not have a path to the beach. So what I did is I took out my hoe and I just started forging a little bit of a path that would go all the way to the beach. Yeah, just kind of give it a bit of a better look and make it look a little bit more natural once I did have the fishing hut up. Decided to place the fishing hut down right there. Yeah, everything looks pretty good. At this point I realized I'm able to make a cottage. So housing was getting a little bit crazy. I wanted a solution to that, so I decided to put this thing down. Now it was absolutely massive and it was a little bit tricky to place down. I'm not sure why it was giving me so much grief. The ground was relatively flat here, but what can you do? Eventually I did find a place I was okay with and plopped her down. Alright, and so now it's back to some resource gathering for me. Start off by chopping a tree down. On to day 11 now, and I followed up by collecting some Jotun blood. As I'm doing so, I do notice these deer creatures I hadn't seen before. Again, pretty much impossible to catch. And back to collecting a little bit more Jotun blood. And even more Jotun blood. And finally we make our way back. We go to the Eye of Odin, and we spawn in our next tribe member. Here we got Roger without the R. Retired bowman and a rocker. He was in a classic rock band. And then we got Civ. He's really good at straining things. So we go with Civ. We do need a strainer on the team, and we move on. Here I run into a wolf. I wasn't sure if I was ready to take this thing on yet or not, so we give it a shot, do 6 damage there, another 6 damage, increase my ranged combat to level 1. I really love games that have, you know, the leveling up of all of these sort of different proficiencies, like this game has. Soul Mascaded as well. Valheim does a good job at it, but yeah. Just love seeing numbers go up really at the end of the day. Wolf gets pretty close to doing some damage to me, but we were able to dodge at the last second. It would be pretty easy to take out my club and beat him to death, but I definitely wanted to work on getting that bow proficiency up, so just kept kind of baiting him around with the bow and ticking down his health a little bit at a time. I was trying to figure out if headshots were more damage as well. I believe they were. This little zombie guy trying to join in the fun, but he's pretty easy to avoid and pretty slow, so that wasn't too big of a deal. And as you can see, the wolf finally goes down, absolutely littered with arrows. At this point I get sick of using the bow and just take out my axe and 2-hit, well I guess there's a 3-hit, but 3-hit the zombie dude, and yeah. Get to work skinning the wolf. As I'm doing so, another one does join in. It's kind of weird though, if I don't look at them and if I don't pay attention to them, it seems like they leave me alone if I just stand still. This guy kind of looked at, and I did have my axe out, so perhaps that's why he did attack me, but yeah, there's been a couple instances where I had wolves near me, and as long as I didn't engage them in any way, they would just kind of charge at me, but then never actually attack and run off. See, just like that brown one did there. It happened quite often. Yeah, it's almost like they know you're busy and they just respect your privacy. It's a little bit strange, but you know what? I'll take it. It allows me to skin the rest of this guy, and we definitely needed to bring back some food for our tribe's people, as they were certainly starving. And finally we finish skinning it. We can get all our arrows back at this point, and yeah, to my surprise, they dropped these big chunks of meat that were considered large items. So I loot everything I can, including all my arrows. Pick up one of those large chunks of meat, drop it just to pick it back up again, and start making my way back. After dropping the wolf meat off for my mates, I get back to chopping down some trees. Yeah, the resource grind in this game is definitely real. You do need a lot of different items. It is pretty crazy, like in a lot of games, you know, you'll chop down a tree and you'll just get one type of resource. In this game, you'll chop down a tree and there's like 5 different resources that come from it. But anyways, I make my way back to the camp after, and I notice a wisp attacking some of my friends, so we definitely take that thing out. And then we go back to the Eye of Odin, as we do want to get another tribes member spawning in. So this time we have either Tora, who is a winter huntsman, as well as a miner, or rocker as they call it. And on the other side we have Bo, battle-scarred veteran, and he's an athlete. Bit of a tough call here. I was a bit undecisive on this one. Definitely some pros to both, but I end up at the last second deciding to go with Tora. Resources still weren't coming back, so I had to move further and further out trying to find myself Jotun blood. Tried to collect as much of it as I could per run, just because, yeah, it was getting a little bit of a pain, just the distance you had to go to find the stuff. So yeah, that's what I was doing here. I was just going on a Jotun blood run, collecting as much of the stuff as I possibly could. Then we get back to camp, and I supply the cottage with some rope. Again, rope was a huge bottleneck, and my tribes people weren't able to collect the fiber quick enough, and my craftsman wasn't able to craft the rope from the fiber quick enough. That had always just ended up being a huge bottleneck, so on a lot of these buildings I ended up just making the rope myself, and yeah, that's what I did with this cottage. It's starting to take shape. So, my craftsperson did finish up a large pickaxe. So now not only do I have the large axe, I also have the large pickaxe. It's going to make Jotun blood gathering a lot easier, that is for sure. And yet again, it's time to work on getting our next villager. This time I get to choose between Kara and Sten. Kara is a night shadow. This means she likes working at the night but hates working in the day. She also has mighty vigor. Then over on Sten's side you got a summer angler. He likes to fish, but only in the summer. He's also weak to the cold. Doesn't really do much good when you're a Viking, so we're gonna say no to Sten and go with Kara. After that we do a little bit more training with the bow. I find a wisp. First shot stuns him, take him out with the second one. We get back to base, and now the way the warehouses work is that first you have to place down the warehouse, but then you actually place down the different storage containers individually, and you have to place them down on a grid that is on top of the warehouse. You'll see what I mean in just a second here, but yeah, what I do is I place down a whole bunch of these. Start off with a water container, or water barrel, I forget exactly what it was called. Then we place down a storage container for raw food. Then we place down a meat rack. Next up we have a cooked food rack, cooked food storage. Then we have a fish rack. Then I place down some stick storage. And then, yeah. We did have a smoker infestation, but yeah, just like the previous times, it didn't really seem to be too much of a hassle. I'm thinking maybe just because I built along the beach away from the forest, they didn't really affect me as much, but yeah. Start helping finish that cottage. Bringing the logs back myself just to try and help my villagers out. Really want to get this thing done because a couple of my villagers at this point did not have a place to sleep, and we're getting mood debuffs because of it, making them just less efficient all the way around. So at this point what I decide to do is I decide to test out one of these sleds. Works just like you think it would, basically like a wheelbarrow but behind you and with skis instead of wheels on it. Kara joins our tribe as we pick up the log, and I'm trying to see how this works, if it just automatically goes into the inventory while I'm, you know, mounted to the sled. But no, you have to drop the sled off, then you can place the logs inside. Lets you take 3 large items at a time, as well as a bunch of small and medium items, as you can see here. So I take the 3 logs back to base and let my villagers do the rest. Get back to work on building that cottage, as yeah, we still do have a little bit of a homeless issue going on here, so yeah. Then we put the combat back to the test. These wisps are really easy, it's not really much of a test, but I wanted to get that bow proficiency up, and as you can see, my ranged combat has reached level 3. Collect some more fiber from these guys as well. Then as nighttime approaches on day 13, I take out a couple more. As you can see, my bow's doing a little bit more damage now. I get back to base and pleasantly surprised to find that my cottage has finished. It does have 2 beds in it. For all the resources, it didn't really feel like it was worth it just for 2 beds, but luckily I had read that you're able to place more beds inside. So that's exactly what I did. And then this brought up the total of villagers I could sleep in here up to 6. I didn't want to crowd it too much. I wasn't sure if maybe the villagers would start getting a debuff, but you could probably fit even more beds in there if you really wanted to. Then I go and get my next villager going. We either get Freya or Ravina. Ravina is the clear choice here, so we grab her, and then we get back to work supplying our hunting pit. The 13th day wraps up, and as it does, we grab ourselves some mussels. The villagers are always seeming to be starving. No matter what I do, food seems to be a huge issue for me, so I try and grab as much as I can by hand whenever I have a couple extra minutes. Alright, and then yeah, we decide on exactly who we want to work our storage building, our stockpile. So basically I'm just looking for whoever's my worst, because I don't think you really need any proficiencies to work the storage building. All you're going to be doing is running around grabbing stuff. So that's what I do there. And then I looked at expanding the storage building as well. But at this point it doesn't let me because the add-ons are still being built. Then I get to work collecting a couple more mussels. And unfortunately I do get a notification at this point that Burger starves to death. Quite unfortunate. You'd think, you know, being Burger, she would be able to eat herself to sustain herself, but that was not able to happen. I have a look at the problems going on right now. By pressing tab, it'll show you all the problems with your tribe, and it does tell me that I have no food left, and my foragers can't find any either. So I go place another set of the markers, giving my guys another area to gather from, hoping this helps fix my food issue, but to this point it doesn't seem like anything's working. And just to give you an idea of where those new markers are, there's the map. And we get to work mining some more Jotun blood. Now survived 14 full days onto the 15th. And with the freshly collected Jotun blood, we go back to our Eye of Odin and spawn in yet another tribe member to replace Burger. We have Ansgar and Lennart. Another tough decision, but I do end up going with Ansgar. Next, and I have no idea why I wanted to do this, but I figured it would be a fun idea to fight a wolf with a pickaxe. So that's exactly what I do. Actually, it does some decent damage to it, especially when you use that right-click heavy attack, as you see a 19 there. Should have been able to avoid that one, but my stamina's depleted. That is the problem with this big pickaxe, is every swing uses just a massive amount of stamina. So it was going really well at the start, and then it became a struggle. But we do take it out. We bring the meat back to our tribes people, just like a good mama bird would do. And then all of a sudden this wisp comes in, and I don't know where the hell it came from, but I just take him out with my bare fists. And then we have some more fun with the pickaxe and combat. Hell of a combo. We take out as many of these guys as we possibly can, but the rate at which they are respawning or coming in from the surroundings is pretty crazy. They keep just ganging up on me, and they're really not too much of a problem to take out. But again, your stamina does get depleted, and when there's too many of them, it can be a little bit of a struggle. So we venture into their camp, find some Jotun blood. Never seen Jotun blood outside of that first shipwreck and then the mineable ores. Then I find what looks like a nest of some sort, or a spawner. I tried to take it out, but its health was going down too slow, and these guys just kept spawning. So we make our way back to camp. We get another villager ready to go. We either got Lauritz or Gunhild. I believe I end up going with Gunhild if memory serves me correctly. And I work on doing a little bit of flattening, just trying to give myself a little bit more terrain to work with. As I do so, we get a warning about another one of those hungry smolker attacks. This time I actually found one trying to gnaw away at some of my food reserves. First time it actually affected me, but as soon as I got close they just got scared and ran away, so it wasn't very hard to deal with. Then I do add an expansion to our warehouse and let the builders start working on that. Next up, I decide to place down a farm to try and rectify this food crisis my tribe is having. I flatten the land myself and let the workers take care of the rest. I then assign Gunhild to our hunter's hut. These are the type of resources the hunter will collect for you. You can set different tiers of priority. I just left them all on medium. Then I get a warning that a wolf bar attack is headed for my base. So I get back there and I decide to help defend my tribe's people. At this point I really became quite comfortable fighting with the pickaxe. Right, and that was the last one. But as if we needed another attack, the blood moon rises on that very same day, the 15th day. So, yep, we get prepared for that attack. I'm trying to find some food as my food is running low, and we're just completely out. No matter what I seem to do, I cannot get enough food. It was definitely a theme of this run, and one of the reasons why the title is what it is. But no food anywhere. I checked the gatherer's pit, I checked my stockpile, I checked the kitchen, the barbecue, I checked absolutely everywhere, and there's no food. So unfortunately we have to make do with what we have, which is not much, and we wait for the attack to start. So right after I jump into a battle with the skeleton, the ones with the sword and shield were actually really tough to get by. They just blocked everything unless you dodge rolled to the backside and hit them unexpectedly from the back, but the problem is doing something like that takes a huge amount of stamina, not to mention I'm using this huge massive pickaxe as my weapon, which definitely didn't help with the stamina consumption. These guys were also trying to take out my stonecutter's hut, so I engaged two at the same time to try and prevent him from taking it out, but then this guy deals a 34 damage blow, which is absolutely insane. So then I work on respawning. Now you have two options. You can either go reborn, which means you get a stats penalty and you lose all of your items, which did not sound appealing to me. The other option is you respawn as a ghost, in which case you have to choose one of your tribespeople to sacrifice so you can regain your own life force. So that's what we do. As you can see, we're in the form of our ghost right now, and we go find which one of our tribes members is going to be sacrificed. Bit of a Grim Reaper type of role. It's a little bit sad. They do in the dialogue say that they do not want to die when you go to sacrifice them, but sometimes sacrifices have to be made, and we do appreciate everything Ravina did for us there. To replace her, we go back to our Eye of Odin, and we either get Hansen or Ulf. Ulf had the ultimate Viking name. I really wanted to take him, but just based on the stats, unfortunately, I had to pass. The Blood Moon is still going on. I find a couple of others. These guys were really easy. They were just the zombie dudes, so didn't really take much to take him out. I guess this one was a skeleton, but he didn't have a shield, so it wasn't too bad. But yeah, so I work on taking all these guys out. They were trying to destroy my Eye of Odin, which obviously I cannot let happen. Avoid this guy's bow attacks. Alright. I was trying to figure out if the onslaught was still coming or if we were going to be done for a while. It seemed like this wave had finished. So what I did is I noticed on the map that there is a spawn location. So I went to the spawn location and it took me right to this rock, but there was nothing here. I didn't see like a portal or a bunch of enemies or anything like that. So yeah, I'm not really sure why it bothered putting the spawn location on the map. If you run there, nothing's really going on. But yeah, we get back and it lets us know the Blood Moon has faded. So that's now 16 full days that we've survived. We start off the 17th day by killing a couple wisps, trying to get that range proficiency up even further. And then next up, we do go to our old shipwreck, see if there's anything around there of interest. There really wasn't, so we ended up just finding some more wisps and kept training that bow proficiency, now up to level 6, which was nice. So then I get a great idea, because I had really been struggling with rope, as I've mentioned, for about the 27th time this video. Yeah, I had basically depleted my entire area of flax, which is the plant that gives you fiber. But then I remembered that these wisps do drop fiber, so I went on an absolutely massive wisp hunting mission, just killing every wisp in sight, gathering all the fiber I possibly could to try and get a bit of a stockpile of ropes going back at the base, because yeah, you just go through ropes like no tomorrow in this game. I also find some Jotun blood while I'm out, and since similar to the flax, the Jotun blood is becoming more and more rare around the close proximity of our tribe. I do mine some of this while I'm out and about as well, try and kill two birds with one stone, so to speak. Collect a little bit more of it, and even more of it. Alright, and I decide to place down a couple more markers. If there's one lesson I learned in this game, it's that you can never have too many markers. The only thing you have to be careful about is where you place them. If you do place them by like a wolf den, for example, your villagers may be attacked while they're working, or they may become unhappy while at work because they feel unsafe, which is a debuff that they get that you definitely want to avoid if you can. So, just like that, we have all the markers up. This is where they are on the map, a little bit further out than the others. I'm hoping, you know, this will help me fix my food situation, but at this point I'm starting to lose hope anything will. And then I get back to getting a little bit more Jotun blood. And then next up we work on spawning our next villager. This time we get a choice between Ulfhild and Zelda. I definitely want to take Zelda because that is an awesome name. And so, yeah, just like that, day 17 is over. Now that we have our hunter's hut, I go back to everywhere where I had a marker. and I place down a hunting marker. Again, just really hoping that this is going to help fix my food situation, as it was starting to get very dire at this point. A bunch of my tribespeople were really close to dying, and I was having a lot of problems trying to keep my population growing. There were a couple times where I wasn't even able to record it, where I did have a couple villagers die, so you'll see my population is only at 12 in the top right. But yeah, we get back and we try and combat the starvation by getting more villagers in here. We got Najal and Sanat. I have no idea if I'm pronouncing those correctly, probably not. A little bit of a pair of interesting names with that spawn session, but hey, what can you do? And then I work on expanding our storage capacity, starting off with some bark storage, and then next up we place down some firewood storage. I find the sizing of these storage containers very strange. Like, why is bark such a massive thing and then firewood so small? But yeah, we keep placing down a couple more, including some log storage. Or perhaps that was long sticks. I can't remember for sure. There's the log storage there. Another massive one, but that makes sense. It is for logs. Some carpenter's item storage. And last but not least, we end up placing down a weapons and tools rack. So as you can see, Otis had left our tribe there due to unhappiness because she was starving. So yeah, definitely unfortunate. I'm really just trying to figure out this food situation, but no matter what I do, it seems like my villagers are just stuck at 12. Then we have a bear attack. I was out in the absolute middle of nowhere, so I just start sprinting back towards the base. Alright, so I get back to our base, and the bear is attacking our Eye of Odin. This thing has a lot of health and is really hard to dodge. So I work on trying to take out the bear. Again, I had a stamina issue. Now, if I had full food and full thirst, it wouldn't be a problem. You do get better stamina when you have full food and full thirst. I did have enough thirst to get the boost from that, but I just was so low on food and trying to keep my villagers alive that I didn't save any for myself. And yeah, it definitely hurt me in this battle, as stamina was a big issue. And this guy did a lot of damage too. So he does this big stand up, and I take that to my advantage and hit him in the back a couple times. And then he sets his sights on me. I mistakenly go for him. I probably should have dodge rolled at that point, but did not. My tribe members do get involved, but it's too late. He takes me out with another 45 damage hit, and now I have to yet again choose which way I'd like to respawn, and again I do choose to be a ghost, as I don't want that stat debuff. And unfortunately for Deke, the Grim Reaper has chosen him today. He's trying to run away, but I'm not going to let it happen. I catch him. He's really trying to juke me out here, but eventually I do get him. And, well, goodbye. We do appreciate your sacrifice. And now we do need a replacement, so back to the Eye of Odin we go. We either choose Jasper or Juna. Both are feeble at something. One logging, one stone cutting. Not the best choices, but whatever. We'll go with Juna. And I try and resolve my food issue once again. This time I grab the sled, and I definitely do not head out to take out a bunch of innocent wolves at a wolf den. I would never do such a thing. The poor wild animals, endangered species, that's just terrible. Not something I could ever bring myself to do. Just super unethical and absolutely terrible, and you know, I don't even really want to talk about it. So yeah, so I definitely am not going to do that to get food. So you know, I have to look for another means, and that's, you know, that's what I do. I look for another means, and at the end, as you can see, I definitely did not take out a bunch of wolves, and I come back with some meat, and I do drop it off for my villagers. Get another smoker attack that doesn't do anything. Work on spawning in another villager. We do have Ragnar and Arvid. Ragnar obviously has the super cool classic Viking name. Too bad he doesn't have the stats to go with it. So we have to take a pass on Ragnar. My villagers are waving to me. I'm guessing it's because they're starving to death and really want me to bring them food, but I'm just going to pretend that they just like me as a leader and are just saying hi. So again, in an attempt to fix our food crisis, I'm going to work on getting the farm going. So the way it works is it's similar to the terrain flattening, where you place down a corner and then you stretch out whichever direction you like to go. But I'm getting these red tiles and all of that, and I did not like the looks of that, so I decided I'm going to need to flatten the land first. So that's exactly what I do. So after a full day of flattening some land around the farm, it wasn't actually like a full day, but it did take quite a bit of time. This is the result afterwards. As you can see, we got a decent bit of flat space to work with. I'm just going to start off by placing a 3x4 sized farm. And then I thought you had to till it, because normally that's the case when you get that square pattern, but no, it needed to be raked. So I had to go produce some rakes, which I did not have yet. So I got my workshop guy working on that, and as I did that, I went out and collected even more Jotun blood. And that's when we get the notification that we have now survived 19 days. Some of my villagers on top of the food crisis are now starting to complain of thirst, so I do put down a second well. The first well never really seemed to run out of water, so I don't know if that was the issue or why they would be thirsty, but I did go into all of their schedules and make sure they had enough leisure time in there, which is the time they are able to take care of their needs, so that wasn't it either. But yeah, we do go grab another Viking. We have Gorm or Lian. We end up going with Lian, and yeah, we get to work on the farm. So the farm had been fully built at this point. Now we were just waiting on the rake so that we could start planting some crops. I do assign a worker. Get Arvid going on the farms. Gives you a tutorial there if you want to read it and pause, go ahead. Now the way they do the farming is kind of cool. You can actually designate each tile as a different crop, and it can repeat itself. The only thing there is that there are different seeds that work in different seasons, so you are going to have to be careful that you are updating it anytime the season changes. So we end up putting down some flax, and I believe that was some cabbage, and I think we also did a couple carrots as well, so 4 of each. As you can see, my barbecuer is breaking down some meat, which is nice. We go collect some more Jotun blood. Stop me if you've seen this before. Alright, and back to the Eye of Odin to spawn in another villager. This time we get to choose between Torsten and Astrid. Torsten has stout constitution. He also has lumberjack strength. Astrid has resilient surge, as well as whatever the first one was. I did not even have time to read it, but clearly I didn't like it at the time, as I did not choose her. Go have a look at the farm, and this is when we realize that yes, we do need to rake it. I noticed that at the bottom it shows you what your expected output is, which is kind of cool. So yeah, that was really nice. There's a little check mark where you can have them loop the planting and harvesting throughout the course of the season. And one of my complaints I was getting from villagers on top of food now was the fact that they didn't feel safe. and my villagers were becoming very unhappy, so I decided to build a barracks. I'd pretty much given up on the food situation and figured, you know what, these guys are always going to be hungry, they're always going to be starving, let's at least fix what we can. So yeah, place down the barracks, and then we move on to the 21st day after successfully having survived 20 days. Even though I died twice, I don't really know if you can call it survive 20 days when you die twice, but you know, we're gonna go with it. Next up, I do place down a kitchen, also known as a cooking house. Start flattening the land. And Torsten had spawned in, so it was back to the Eye of Odin. Now we get either Marin or Gunnar. Iron Lungs is always nice. I really like the name Gunnar. Sounds definitely like a Viking, but seems like you either get one, good stats or good name. Again, I'm getting a couple of homeless Vikings now that we are up to 15 villagers, so I do place down another longhouse. And I move my barbecuer over from the barbecue to the cooking house. The cooking house, I thought this would be kind of similar to the barbecue, except just have some more recipes and everything, but no. The cooking house, actually, all it is used for is cooking berry jam and berry compote, at least at the stage of the game I'm at. That being said, the berries compote does have quite a few benefits. It satisfies both hunger and thirst, and it also increases joy. As my villagers were very unhappy and very hungry, I figured maybe if I could make some berry compote that could solve some of my issues, so that's what I try and do. And then I do go grab another villager, as you can see there. Later that night, the blood moon rises, right as I'm trying to flatten out some more land. And of course we run into another sword and shield skeleton, my least favorite enemy in this game to this point. Just blocks everything. Luckily, if you hit it enough, you can break its shield. Managed to get a stun off and take him out. Then I see this new creature that I'd never seen before. It was like a larger and darker skeleton. Was able to take it out and found out it was called a Draugr. And another sword and shield skeleton comes in. The problem with this one was there was a Draugr in the back shooting his bow and arrow at me, which did not make it easy. Luckily, he set his sights on my stonecutter's hut instead of me for a little bit, wanted me to take out the skeleton. The skeleton also got distracted by a structure. Kind of funny, but we'll take it. And then we return our sights to the bow and arrow Draugr. My stamina management in these fights is definitely my biggest weakness, and again, it doesn't help that my food is not full. Now I'm down to almost no health. I take a arrow shot and now I'm down to literally only 1 health, I think, just a tiniest speck of red left over there, so I just run away. I'm trying to drag the Draugr and the skeleton into my other Vikings, into my friends over there so they can help me take them out. Hit them from behind. Now unfortunately Hendrik did die, but my villagers finally do come to my aid and help me take out that last Draugr. And just like that, we have now survived the 21st day, and the blood moon has gone away. Alright, and to try and keep expanding our village, we do go out and get some more Jotun blood. At this point I was running like halfway across the map in order to get this stuff, I swear. I'm really hoping that once winter passes the resources do respawn, because it was getting a little bit ridiculous, the amount of markers and the amount of distance I had to go to collect anything. We make our way back with a bunch of Jotun blood. And we get to choose between Ulrich and Casper. We end up going with Ulrich. I think Ulrich maybe sounds a little bit more Viking. I'm gonna go with that. Wisp somehow got behind me and tried to hurt me. I took him out with my fists. And then at this point I got a notification that it was extremely cold outside. It wasn't winter yet, it was still autumn, but I'm pretty sure every single villager in my entire community had moved into that one longhouse. We were having a big party there. But I pretty quickly realized that I was going to need some clothes that provided cold resistance, some clothes that kept my people warm. In order to do that, I needed linen. I couldn't figure out how to get linen until I noticed there was an upgrade for the workshop called the Weaver. So I placed that upgrade down. That's what you saw previously. And yeah, the plan is to work on getting some warmer clothes. And we spawn in yet another villager. This time we have Valdemar and Idun. Definitely butchering a lot of these names, but yeah, I'm not exactly Nordic, so please don't get too upset with me. Notice some grass growing in my beautiful dirt patch that I call a settlement, so I take out the grass. Have a look around, see that I still need more food markers even though I've placed about 17 billion already. And yeah, my settlement has a lot of problems. Now at this point my base is an absolute mess. Everybody's hungry, nobody's happy, I have no defenses yet. Every time I get raided, buildings are being taken out. I'm just going in circles and circles. My population can't seem to get past 15, 16. Everybody's always, hungry, like I just mentioned. It was a nightmare, and, I wasn't even able to build new structures, new buildings, because all of my time was being spent repairing the ones that kept getting damaged, and yeah, things just weren't going my way, so I figured, you know what, let's just go out, let's find some wolves, let's try and take out, 15 of them, just get as much possible meat as we can, hopefully not have to worry about it for a long time. But unfortunately, as I was looking to feed my tribe, I myself ironically bit off more than I could chew. So as my tribe was starving, ironically, I had taken too large of a bite, and yeah, these wolves were a little bit too much. I get close, I take out 2 of them, then this third one is down to just a tiny little bit of health left, dodge roll, take him out. And then we're down to this last wolf, but I have no stamina left. I go for a swing, I can't dodge roll out of the way because I had no stamina left and I had died again. So at this point I do decide that I'm not going to be able to continue this run. Unfortunately there was just nothing I could do with the food situation and everything that was going on. I had to call it quits. I knew that this wasn't going to be the run that would carry me to 100 days, which was my goal. Just too much had gone wrong, but luckily I do feel I've learned a lot of valuable lessons from this run, and I think my next one I am going to be able to succeed. So that's awesome. Hey guys, thank you so much for watching how I failed to survive 100 days in Aska. It means the absolute world to me. As my second video, I do ask you to leave a subscription, leave a like, leave a comment, and if there's anything else I can do to improve the quality of these, please do let me know. And yeah, I can't wait to see you guys in the next one. All the best.